Hey guys, Trevor John coming at you another Union Arena deck profile video. On this one, what we are going to be reviewing is the Sword Art Online Blue SAO Waltz, is what the deck name I've given it. This is going to be the kind of like the premier bluish deck for Sword Art Online for the release. It is a variant of basically an upgraded starter deck, so to speak. I wouldn't necessarily call a lot of these cards used in the starter deck. It's more you're going to use about you're going to take probably 4 to 8, maybe 12 cards from the starter deck to utilize them in this deck, and it's going to vary depending on your own playstyle for the most part. But overall, in general, this deck is a very easy to play one that feels just kind of good to play on and come online quickly. All right, so let's go ahead and dive right into it, guys. So personally, this is my favorite release. Actually, I will be having another YouTube video come out sometime next week or maybe the week after. We'll see. I did pre-order 4 cases of Sword Art Online. I have confirmed at least 2. I have another 2 that I think I've just now confirmed. So we will be opening 4 cases of SAO myself, and I was probably going to record it, grab a few buddies, have them come over and help me open them and get them sorted. So stay tuned. We will have that on my channel later as well. All right, so moving on here to the deck summary. Now, once again, like I said, this deck, it plays very nicely. It plays very straightforward, and it's kind of a lot of fun, if I'm honest. So it's kind of like one of those where you just switch to a lot of attacks. So you could you could attack anywhere between, I would say on average between 5 to maybe 7 attacks per turn. 7 being more the upper end. It's kind of hard to get that many out because basically you'd need to utilize at least either 3 Kiritos, or you'd have to play 2 of the double attack Kiritos, at least until volume 2. Once volume 2 comes out, this deck changes a lot and becomes super meta, especially with volume 2. But anyways, I digress. The fun part is the switching of mechanics. So now you get to switch with your energy line and your front line, similar to the show, which I feel like is really key to why this deck feels good to play and makes it fun, especially if you're enjoy Sword Art Online. Maximum energy requirement is actually only 5 for this deck. Also, when we talk about maximum energy requirement, I like to go over here to EX Burst, come see exactly where my cost breakdown is. As you can see here, we only have 5 cards that exceed that limit of the 4 energy. Everything else is below it, and you will see here that we have 10 zeros, 6 1s, 6 2s, and 8 3s. This makes this deck very, very balanced. Cost-wise, it's not nearly as detriment, so to speak, on needing a lot of energy. Right now, you will notice here in the deck list that let me hide this over here. You will see that we do have plenty of 2 energies as well. So you'll see we have 4, 6, up to 8, 10 possible characters that can have two energy generation. Basically, this is primarily just to get this 5 energy online, but also because, guys, don't forget, as soon as you fill up your energy line, you then have other targets that you can push forward and just use as blockers. No reason to take extra life. Now, I do know a lot of times that, characters with impact, so on and so forth, you may not always sacrifice or get to use one as a blocker, but the quicker you get these double energies down, the faster you can just use all the other cards as fodder, so to speak. So it's just generally, you want to pay good attention to this, and having this such a well balanced in the low range makes this one pretty hard to win, or to have a non-starter, so to speak, like a non-zero drop. Really hard to lead into that situation. Typically, you don't need to necessarily mulligan a lot with this deck as well, only because of the balance. Generally speaking, you'll see at least 2 0 or 1 0, and at least one energy, giving you at least 2 playables from the beginning. And that's realistically what you're kind of looking for. All right. So what kind of decks is this deck good against? So this is a very good stereotypical deck here. It's very just straightforward play with a little bit of movement with the energy line and the front line. That does get a little complicated here and there, but once again, fairly straightforward in the gameplay. So this deck is very strong against decks that aren't necessarily take longer to come online. So think about like your Muzans, where you're gonna have 20 cards in the sideline. This deck comes online about 1 to 2 turns before Muzan comes online, unless they get really lucky on the discards. The other one that this kind of tops out and beats against it, at least currently, is the Saitama meta. So because of the new Saitamas that have come out in the One Punch, at least in the US, right? We got it prior to the Sword Art Online. That changed the meta drastically. What that did for us is it added a lot of cards that allow for some ditching to then play some Saitamas, which are just really hard to deal with, right? One easy way to deal with them is add more attacks or get out faster before they can get the main Saitamas out. Like that's the no-brainer, right? This deck plays against that very, very well, because this will usually have a game decided a turn or two before the Saitamas will come on board. And if not, then you get really bad luck of the draw and you just weren't going to win. Weak against heavy impact decks. This deck does not have any nullify impact. I did hesitate and struggle a little bit. I really like to have at least a couple of them in every deck. However, it just was not going to be feasible to have in this deck whatsoever. All right, so now let's go over the deck build. So as you can see here, we do have the card laid out. I'm going to jump over to EX Burst because I really like to use his site when I kind of talk about this, because it gives me the options to show other characters as well when we're talking about them, as well as I can highlight them and kind of make them a little bigger so you guys can read text if you're trying to pause and read it on screen. Basically, this deck is very much set up to, as you can see, use all the asanas, all the Kiritos as I can. And realistically, this Yui and this Peanut, I did not really want in the deck. I really wanted to focus primarily on only using asanas and the Kiritos, mostly because of their raid targets here, right? You will notice that we have 2 ALL Kiritos that are the up to 2 energy ones. These can always be swapped out at any time. You'll also notice that we only have 2 of the movement asana. You can always swap in 2 more of her, which add 2 energy, or 2 of the Kirito at the 2 energy. I typically just don't recommend that swap, only because I do find having that extra energy makes for it to be more consistent, more reliable to get on board. And also, once again, he's just a raid target, so nothing too much to worry about there. And the other thought is so the only other downside to this is because he's in the deck, though, this Kirito could miss if it were to potentially draw this Kirito. So that is the only downside, which is why you may want to take him out to go ahead and proc in the 2 asana. I don't find that I hit him that often that it's that big of a deal, but it's up to you guys how you want to play. Overall, in general, though, the Peanut is there only to utilize and crack, so that we have the 2 energy once again, and this is so that you primarily get these other ones out here. Specifically more this Kirito, getting his 3 energy on there on the play, and then allowing him to go ahead and push a character forward or backwards makes a big difference, especially when you're trying to either fix an energy line or if you're trying to generate additional attacks. It allows for other effects, like such as the once per turn movement outside of movement phase for this asana, or the one here which allows you to draw then, right? So it's very, very helpful and impactful in the deck. All right, so the strategy of this deck. So you kind of caught on to this as we've been talking about this, going over the decks and cards that we're utilizing here and kind of showing you that what you would potentially want to utilize anyways. This deck strategy is basically on the focuses on Asana's abilities when she moves outside of the movement phase. It's the main deal here. The other thing that's really key is the 5 energy Kirito. He's relatively easy to bring into play, so to speak, providing a lot of support for swapping Asana to activate additional effects, such as like the draw on the 1 attack or the impact as well, going up to 5,000 BP. Those are really helpful, especially with those decks that have like a Muzans who has like the Enmu, I don't remember. The one that comes 4,500 on your way up to get the Muzans to 220, right? He's a really hard one to deal with because he comes 4,500, so that allows him to always be able to be a stopper, so to speak, or a blocker against the impact target. So allowing having the asana that goes up to 5k pretty much allows that you can always get that impact to go through, whereas the other asana at just the 4k always impact, she's not going to increase attack at all. Now there is the thought that you could potentially swap out another card to do the grab the Lisbeth to do the plus 1000 BP. Those are always options in almost every deck there is. If you're really that worried about getting over the 4,000 hump, most people realistically aren't, as most decks won't have a crap ton of 5,000 plus cards that they're going to have on the front line. Ideally, you should really use the Yui to bounce back the Kirito, this 1 energy Kirito. because essentially this is the whole reason why she's kind of in there. One, she just adds a little bit more stability with the extra two energy here, but also because what you want to try to do is utilize your 3 energy Kirito here to push this one forward early on, so that we can go attack with them after you utilize them. So then once you do that, if you do need to play another card later on, you bounce him back to hand, and then you keep using him to filter out some more of those Kiritos and Asanas that you're looking for. So card swap modifications, guys, I know I've talked briefly on a few of them during this video. I personally don't have any great recommendations for this deck. A lot of people argue that the starting deck is great, you get a lot of variable cards. You kind of do. Personally, I feel like this is the better one to go with. It's not that hard and it's not that cheap, or not that expensive, so to speak. I mean, you do have some SRs in here, right? You do have 4, 8, 12 SRs, I believe, is the top end, right? So 12. Yeah, 4, 8, 12. Well, I think technically maybe not, maybe 16 SRs. So it might not be as cheap, now that I'm saying that out loud, but either way, you're gonna buy 2 starter decks to get this card anyways. It's gonna come with both of these, and then you're gonna have these, so you're kind of gonna get there anyways with a few decks, free starter decks, and a couple booster box. Maybe buy a few singles. I would recommend using my deck list and going with it. If you want to swap things out, by all means do so. Whatever floats your float. It makes it more efficient for you to play, so to speak. Deck play graphics. So basically kind of quick reminders here with this deck, the way it plays. Hinges a lot around the 5-star or 5 energy Kirito. What you're looking to do is attack with him, swap ideally with the 4 energy raid one, only because she gets the draw effect, which then allows you more playables and more possibilities to get more 5-star energies and the 4-star double attack Kiritos out. So it just helps with filtering, right? Makes a big difference. The second target for the swap would be the 4 energy Asuna, who gets the impact in 5k. Once again, you're looking to get past that hump of the news. You're trying to get past, like, even the rated Lancelots. Makes a big difference here, guaranteeing getting that impact through. And then lastly, just the 2-star or the 2 energy one. This really isn't a swap priority target by any means. However, if she's on the field, swap with her. That way she's a 4k. It definitely helps getting some 4ks in the front line, doing some damage. If you are searching with Kirito, the first priorities realistically is get one of the 5-star energy or 5 energy Kiritos, and then look for one of the 4 energy Asanas. These 2 combo really, really well, and these are what you're looking for first. Obviously, you're not going to always hit them. More than likely, you will not always hit these cards. Realistically, try to go for the other ones as well, but these would be your pattern. So if you have these 2, then go for the 3 energy, or go for the 4. Generally speaking, you only really want to pick the 3 one when you need to do a movement outside of it, or if you need a raid target. You will find a lot in this deck that you are looking for a lot of raid targets for Kirito as well. The switch, this is primarily just to swap characters. Basically what we're trying to say here is utilize these cards to do the swapping. That's realistically all we're trying to tell you guys, and these are the ones that help you when you do swap. Okay, moving on. Best starting hands, guys. So there are a lot of debates on good starting hands. There's also debates on whether or not going first, going second. Some decks come alive better going first, some come alive better going second. This deck preferably you want to go second with, not so much first. It is kind of funny because generally speaking, when you think of Kirito, he typically wants to go first, right? That's why he is the switch target, where he attacks and then staggers so Asuna comes in from behind, right? This is a good example of a very good starting hand to get for almost any round, whether you're going to go first or second. The reason being is because you have more than 1 0 drop in hand, always a good sign. You have 2 zeros, a 1, a 3, a 4, and a 4. Basically, you guaranteed a good energy line here, right, between these, and you're going to get out a double attack Kirito, as well as a potential impact swap Asuna. Now, she can already be procced by this Kirito here, so if you play this correctly, you could actually end up with 4 on the line before you play this Kirito, have Asuna go out there, and then swap and give her impact. Not necessarily the best starting way to do so, but it is an option, which sometimes it could be helpful depending on how fast your opponent is rushing. So let's dive into like kind of the opening plays and how we would play this. So for example, if we were going to go first, we just play the Kirito. If we were going second and starting it all off here, we would get a draw, so that might change some of these play styles. But generally speaking, if we just go off what your starting hand is, this Kirito and then automatically getting to search here, really impactful, especially when you know you already have one of the double attack ones and you have an Asuna in hand. This really makes it to where you can either get the 5 energy one, because that way you can really utilize her, or you're looking for that 4 energy raid one, so that way you could potentially raid on the 0 drop here and have a couple of different Asunas to choose from. Real helpful, right? So you want to always open up with that type of a play if you can. What happens then, especially so like I said, if you're using this Kirito and if you're going second, then you're going to be proccing him as soon as you go second, in which case you may end up playing an Asuna anyways, but this will probably hopefully net you a card worthwhile that you're going to be able to utilize when you get the 3 energy. If you're going second, obviously you had already played this card. Hopefully you already picked your raid target, and from there you go into the zeros, and then you could use this Kirito. And the reason why we kind of bring up utilizing this Kirito at this point is because then you can move a character outside of the phase, right? So it's a good habit to do, but also this Kirito would be vanilla. So why not just push him forward? And there's no reason to hang on to him, right? So just utilize him as a blocker if potentially needed. And then lastly, guys, turn 3, once again, this deck's pretty straightforward when you look at it and you want to play it. Essentially by turn 3, you're looking to play this raid. You already have the energy line at this point. You should have 4 or 5 energy at this point. I think, yeah, guaranteed almost 5. Hopefully you've gotten another one. Play your raids, move forward, and start attacking. Generally speaking, the rest of the deck is just going to kind of play how I've talked about. It's going to be very back and forth with a little bit of extra swings in there. Just be conscious of what characters you're grabbing, and also be cognizant of what characters you have available on the field. Don't forget to keep 5 energy at all times so that we can always pull out that 5 energy raid target, because playing him off turn does not hurt you whatsoever, especially because you can utilize this swap on play, which could really help a lot of people if you're trying to, let's say, block out and you pick him out of your life. This allows you to kind of add an additional blocker to the mix. So don't necessarily hesitate so much to take life with him, with him being a possibility to come on board, so to speak, because it does kind of help depending on how you're playing and how the game's going. That's gonna do it for this video, guys. I hope this helped. I was trying to get these a little bit shorter, so I do apologize if this was a little too quickly, but yeah, leave comments down below. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on comments on this. I'm really excited. This is gonna be my favorite, or this is my favorite IP, so I'm really excited to play this one, and yeah, I look forward to it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.